Well, yeah, we did it about a month ago, didn't we? And spoke about 4 clubs. We're going to talk about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I reckon. Which of these 10 clubs, 9 clubs, are going to join Rotherham in being relegated? Have I written them off too soon? I started getting worried there. Surely Rotherham can't survive. But anyway, what we got? 10 teams possibly in the relegation mix now?
To your first point, Rotherham do look cooked, don't they? If you got 19 points after 34 games, and the way the tide is rising now, and Sam, just absolutely unprecedented. If you're on the YouTube video now, look at the form guide and look at the most recent game, which is furthest over to the right, and you will see that in the bottom half of the championship, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, the bottom 11 teams, including 4 of the bottom 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the bottom 11 won this round, which is just completely unprecedented, Sam. We've been on the radar, as much as people like to make up that we don't mention these teams. They're selectively misremembering it and have a chip on their shoulder. We've been all over Sheffield Wednesday since December in great form. QPR also in fantastic form. Huddersfield 3 wins in 5, and the first one for Andre Brighton-Writer. Great win for Swansea as well. Let's save Stoke for the end, Sam, because that's obviously the elephant in the room. And no disrespect to Rotherham, but I agree with you. Do you want to talk about Sheffield Wednesday and QPR?
Yeah, well, I think that's just been more of the same, hasn't it? Really, from the impact the managers have had. I think there was clearly a period at QPR under Marty Cifuentes where they kind of lost their way, similar to maybe Southampton, different ends of the table. But when you have that initial momentum and you have that confidence, and then you lose a few, I think that hindered them. I think January was massive for QPR. I think that's probably the main difference between them and Sheffield Wednesday. I think they've been hugely boosted by the signings. QPR, I think just the influx of some new players can just breathe new life, and I think there's the opportunity to give Dykes a bit of a break now. I think midfield has been such a problem area for QPR. I think going back many a year, so to have Hayden there now, to have Hodge on loan, to have Anderson that they've brought in, I think gives them a real strength there and allows probably Chair Willock. I know Smith came on and had a really good impact at the weekend. Got a brilliant goal. He was going to be mentioned actually in the Worldie of the Week, probably more
mainly
so
for the assist.
Yeah, Chris Willock. The second one actually was a bit deceiving, Willock's one, because you think, oh, that's a hell of a strike, and then the keeper's kind of dived out the way of it. But yeah, 2 excellent goals. So I think January combined with the manager could prove to be the ingredients that keep QPR in the division. And Danny Rowe, I think, is very versatile in terms of his tactics, been different shapes for different games.
He's going to be in the conversation for manager of the year, surely, when we're at the end of this, if he keeps them up from where they were. Wow.
Yeah, and all the criticism that has gone Sheffield Wednesday's way because of the ownership and the way that they've
rightly so.
Yeah, in a way, yeah, rightly so. But I just more mean, it's been one way, hasn't it? And there's been zero credit probably given, I don't know, outside of Sheffield Wednesday to maybe this appointment. I don't know who made the appointment. I don't know exactly who's identified Danny Rowe, but my goodness me, it seems to have been a brilliant decision, and he seems to be a great fit. So, I think both of those teams have consistently been in the ascendancy, and that's why we're having that conversation, because all those teams that we thought were safe a month ago pretty much are dragged back into contention for sliding into League One.
Right, we'll stop at the bottom 6 because else we'll be here all day. But before we talk about the elephant in the room that is Stoke City, Millwall and Huddersfield, Sam, obviously new managers going in literally in the past sort of week or so there. With Millwall, are you thinking, okay, it's been a bit chaotic, hasn't it? But Neil Harris is a very familiar, safe pair of hands there, and the squad is clearly better than being relegated, isn't it? I would suggest. And then Huddersfield, are they going to get a little tick from the new manager bounce there as well?
Yeah, I would imagine so. I think with Millwall, I don't know there's any argument really to suggest that Neil Harris was a safer bet in keeping Millwall in the division than Joe Edwards. I don't think anyone would argue that, and I don't think that was part of my analysis last week at all. I would never dream of saying that, given his history, his different style. I think the way that he wants to play essentially right now is gonna garner more points.
That works well for a get away from the bottom scrap.
Of course it does. Yeah, of course it does. I think my frustration, and not because I know both the chaps relatively well, or I've spent time with both of them. Obviously, not for a few years, but my frustration probably at it from the outside and going and watching loads of Millwall games is that I see the flaws in what they do, Millwall. I see the flaws and the gaps in their squad, but I think for what currently they've got signed, Neil Harris will absolutely get enough points, and I'll be fascinated to see what he can do next season if he's in the division and handed the keys to mould the squad a little bit more. In a one-off season, they could very much have a go again next year under him, which would be an amazing U-turn. But yeah, we'll see what happens on that front. But I think they're probably going to continue to the way they won there, the amount of supporters they had at Southampton, the way it's going to make them feel before the next flurry of home games. They'll be really excited. They'll get behind the team, and even if maybe they get an indifferent result or two, I think they're going to be they'll probably be too strong to be down the real bottom for too long.
Did you want to touch on Huddersfield before we talk about Stoke?
Yeah, I fancied them, didn't I? At Watford, probably didn't expect Danny Ward to come on. Yeah, that's the one that I'm a little bit uncertain about, because I think I had them down as 2-1, and then I got a little bit greedy and put 3-1 down. So
that's my memory of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know why I did that. I probably didn't anticipate Danny Ward coming on, who I wouldn't say has been someone I've singled out and wanted to give a little bit of stick to, but I just felt they've been so undercooked, in the forward positions, especially centre forward, that he's had to kind of carry that mantle for probably too long. And I felt going into this season with him as being kind of the one out and out forwards they would need to add, which they have done latterly. But yeah, still a bit surprised to see him come on and still being able to do it and still being able to grab points. So well done him. Couple of really clever finishes, actually. The second one was good as well. But I think they was on the right road, weren't they, under John Worthington? I thought they'd shown that they could attack a little bit more. They'd be a bit more free-spirited, and the new coach seems to have adopted that as well. So yeah, I something just tells me that will probably prove to be a wise decision as well to change firstly, but then also to make this permanent appointment now, just to give them a little bit more kind of a kick up the backside.
Okay, we've delayed it enough now. Stoke City are in the bottom three now. This is really incredible to me, because I know Stoke have baffled us over the years, and particularly on this podcast, Sam, we kind of joked, we say the opposite. They always seem to end up back in trouble somehow. But I have to say, this is big alarm bells now. Big alarm bells. We've got 12 to go. They're in the bottom three with Sheffield Wednesday and QPR clearly playing better than them. And you made a good point, Sam, about managerial hires that have worked. And you're right to say, Cifuentes, QPR, trend up. Danny Röhl, Sheffield Wednesday, trend up. And as much as I'm a giant fan of Steven Schumacher and, 101 points for Plymouth last year, this is really not working. And the vibe I've got, Sam, is, I don't know if you were probably too busy being a footballer at this point, or starting to be a footballer. I remember Man City coming down to First Division, as it was then, rather than the Championship. And it was mental that they were even there in the first place. They were such a big club. And they got relegated. And about, I don't know, 10, 12 games from the end of the season, you're like, this is absolute chaos. They're going to drop, aren't they? Are you getting any of that vibe about Stoke, or will they just be sensible and turn this around now?
I'm not getting Manchester City vibes about them, because I remember playing against Stoke in the third tier, probably around about the period you're talking about, when I was starting out. So, and they were always like so incredibly well supported, and it was such a difficult game when you went there. Really loud, I used to find the Britannia. But yeah, it's not working. What, 3 wins in 12, I think. I think the massive problem right now is probably the home form, even though they beat QPR relatively recently. I didn't actually know just how indifferent the form had been in front of their own supporters until maybe a couple of weeks ago. So that's a massive problem. And goal scoring all of a sudden, when you think about why Steven Schumacher's been brought in, what his strength has previously been as a manager, is to be pretty open, expansive, attack-minded, create chances.
Ruthless, weren't they, Plymouth, Sam?
Ruthless, but just his teams, just they want to attack, don't they? They want to commit bodies into the box, and I think it just basically tells us that a hell of a lot has been done wrong in the transfer market. They seem to have bought some duds, some bad characters. I haven't got the team in front of me from last week, but I did have it in my notes from Saturday morning. Even just looking at the makeup of his team last time out told me that he's lost trust with a lot of these new signings that were brought in from different parts of Europe in the summer. So much so that he's had, I think Kundal played as a 10 the other day. He had an 18-year-old up front. There's no consistency in the selection. And that's not having a go at the manager at all. It's the opposite. I think there's so many players there that either aren't up to it or are wildly underperforming. So I don't know how they're going to get themselves out of it, but I think the majority absolutely want Steven Schumacher to ride this and to be the one to rebuild in the summer. Obviously, it'll be catastrophic if they drop a division, but I think there seems to be a real want and a real support, which is not always the case for this manager. And I think the majority of that just stems from his demeanour, his comments, and probably the fact that the disappointment and the frustration is directed at the players more than the manager at the moment.
And yeah, real on a knife edge, isn't it, for Stoke? And if the trends continue, they will get relegated, which is crazy to say. And Sam, just to round it out, things change in football. Surprises happen. If you go back to the clip we put out 3-4 weeks ago, we were looking at it's 3 teams from 4, but completely different landscape at the bottom there now, and we're looking at a high tide, Sam, and someone's going to be in the wrong place at the wrong time with a fairly decent points total and go down this season, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. It's difficult to, when you look at it right now, Stoke 100% would probably be the cause for concern, but we've done them so many times, and I think they were my Parkins pick at the start of the season. But you just look at every team in that bottom half. You can see Birmingham, because they've got a little bit of unpredictability in the forward line now. I think they've got some good players. You could see them, they won back-to-back, didn't they, before the defeat at Ipswich. You can see them pulling out a result. I could see Blackburn being quite hard to beat. Swansea really got their act together the other day. The teams that down the bottom that are around Stoke, other than Rotherham, have all got their act together, it would seem. So Stoke are the one that this morning, as we speak, are sticking out like a beacon. Is that a phrase? So yeah, I'd be hugely concerned about them ahead of the next couple of games, because you can't see where that consistency is coming from, and the others are chalking up wins, even if it's not win. Sheffield Wednesday and QPR have been kind of in this way, a little bit inconsistent, but picking up wins.
And that's what's so fascinating, Sam, is that Sheffield Wednesday, last thing we'll say on this, in the bottom three, completely not performing like a bottom three side at all. And, maybe we'll get at least one surprise. We might get two surprises and we might get a really unlucky one, I think. But let's move on from that. We'll clip that one out and you can compare and contrast. We'll link the other one as well at the end of the clip so you can check back our conversations. As ever, Sam, we say how we feel at the time and things can change, and our comments will hopefully echo that.